Hello, welcome to Seek God Deeply. My name is Christopher. This episode is called Spiritual Alchemy. Don't let the name alchemy scare you. We know Shem was the name of Egypt before it was changed to Egypt. Al is Allah. So it's a spiritual alchemy that I want to talk about, not the actual physical alchemy of mixing metals, which back in the ancient times, that physical manifestation of alchemy became a search of greed to create gold out of lead and sulfur, etc., etc. There are aspects of the physical alchemy that translate to the spiritual alchemy, but you have to remember that the process of spiritual alchemy is always internal. This video is going to be about the spiritual alchemy that we surround ourselves with daily. Every thought is alchemy. We are created in the image and likeness of the great alchemist. We are alchemists. We see this because of what we create. Creation is basically the combination of elements to create something brand new. It's exactly what human beings do, and it happens within the mind. So before I do that, I want to touch base with that last video, which showed every photon having a electromagnetic field around it, and from smallest to biggest, all the universe has this magnetic field around it. Well, remember when they were talking about, let's say this is our galaxy. This is just some food for thought I want to touch base on. That video. I'll show you some clips just to remind you. If you haven't seen the video, just go back, look at that video, and you'll understand this conversation. Because I just want to talk a little bit about one certain thing, and I'll probably put the image over here. They were showing galaxies. Okay, so let's just say that this is the Milky Way galaxy. Okay, and our planet right now, our solar system, just came from 12,000 years being under the galaxy, the plane of the galaxy. This is the plane of the galaxy, the level of the galaxy. Okay, that's our 0 dB. What I always talk about. This is our solar system. This is the plane of the galaxy. Our solar system goes up and down like a sine wave. But now what I want to talk about is this image that I'll probably put right over here. You have the magnetic field. So here you have the positive or the north magnetic field. You have the negative or the south magnetic field. Let's look at our solar system. For the last 12,000 years, we were in the lower part. Remember how I was talking of the last video? The lower part is the darkness, up here is the brightness. Just check out that last video if you didn't see that yet. But this is just some food for thought. 12,000 years that we were influenced by this power. Remember, the North Pole and the South Pole are both, the South Pole is created, the South magnetic field is created in the image and likeness of the North. It's just reversed. It's just a polarity flip. So for 12,000 years, we were in and under the influence of the lower south magnetic or negative, whatever you want to call it, that magnetic field of our galaxy. And now the new age, what we're going through right now is a switch from the influence of the lower magnetic field. As the solar system raises up, it's now going to be influenced by the upper positive magnetic field. Now here's my question that I'm throwing out. Could this be what the New Age is talking about. For 12,000 years up here, we're going to be influenced by the light side, the positive side, the north side of our galaxy's magnetic field. And we know that electromagnetism influences every photon at the subatomic level, which means we are influenced by it as well, which means our brains are influenced by it as well. Thought process, everything else. They not only are influenced by it, but they create these magnetic fields. My question basically is as our solar system goes through this transition, which they consider the chaos, because you're going from one influenced magnetic resonance to another, could the above 12,000 years that we're going to expand into, could that be when we finally learn how to live together? Can that be when we finally are influenced by the positive higher vibrations of our galaxy? It's just a question I'm throwing out there. It's just something that's been on my mind from that last video, and I think maybe 4 or 5 videos before this, I must have had some visions of that process, because I think I threw that statement into a few other videos, and that last video that I did kind of touched base with that. Now, beyond that, let's look at something else that was being shown in that video. And I'll probably put it up over here as well. When they did that little experiment with the little balls in between the magnetic fields, do you remember the different shapes as they threw the balls in? You know, you would have, as they threw them in, you know, more and more would come about, and they would create a geometrical pattern there. Everybody knows that the lotus, the sacred lotus, is a symbol across generations, across religions. The lotus is a symbol that we can look at and say to ourselves, when you look at that lotus flower, you know, no, I'm not an artist. I was last time, but this time I am not. But when you look at that lotus flower, it has all of its little beautifuls, but it also has, right in the center, this beautiful little array. It becomes the pot that holds the seeds, but this beautiful little array that looks like the example of that video. So could the lotus resemble a perfect harmony between the two poles? I mean, all of nature, we have to know, is in perfect harmony. But it's just interesting to see that shape and to see how it was created in the lab with that electromagnetic energy, the magnetism of that little ball experiment. The sacred lotus has a balance. It has an aura about it that extends love and peace and balance and harmony. That's just another little food for thought, maybe, you know. I want to read a saying from Sir William Jones based on the lotus. And it's interesting. The seeds of a lotus contain perfectly formed leaves even before the seed germinates. The leaves are the miniature shape of what one day the perfected flower will become. That is so interesting. Our thoughts, that's why you hear a lot of people say, think before you speak. Our thoughts can have those same effects. If we develop the proper thought before it germinates and is ready to sprout and blossom out of our mouth, we can, like a lotus, give off that same aroma of presence, beauty, and peace by simply making sure our leaves are exactly what they need to be, or what you want them to be when they externalize themselves. So the alchemy of thought, let's get into the spiritual alchemy now. The alchemy of thought is one of the fundamental principles that we as spiritual alchemists use on a daily basis without truly knowing of our alchemical doings. If we were able to see the physical alchemy of combining different elements to form a new one, and we see that physically this can be applied, then mentally there must be a correlation and an agreement of this process that happens internal. And what is it externally that the alchemist uses? Well, we know from the periodic table there are 7 elements, 7 periodic elementals on that table. I showed it maybe 3 or 4 videos ago. If we look, what is the alchemist using? He's using a combination of the 7 rays, no matter how the elements fall into the process. Alright, this is a good time for me to cut in. When I recorded this video 2 weeks ago, I didn't have any of the videos planned that I was going to interject into my episode here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to interject myself just to explain a little bit about the video that's about to come up. And the one I'm about to show now is just going to give you a little bit more understanding of ancient alchemy. Actually, the name of the video I found on YouTube was called The Fundamental Teachings of Ancient Alchemy. And towards the end of it, you'll see Isaac Newton actually had a really nice translation of the Emerald Tablets, which the Emerald Tablet has a lot to do with alchemy. So check this video out. Hopefully I don't choose a video where I get flagged. There was a couple other ones that were owned and copyrighted, and I guess they filed a dispute, but they allowed me to use the video because I'm not monetizing any of my videos. The spirit is free, so that's how I operate. So if you do see any videos that have ads on them, it's because something in there, the content in there that I used, belonged to somebody and they've monetized it. I believe the spirit is free. There's nothing that I need to gain from giving this information to you except for the love of seeing those who understand it blossom in it. So with that said, this video is some background on ancient alchemy, and this is the fundamental teachings of ancient alchemy. And check out Isaac Newton's translation of the Emerald Tablets. See you in a few.
Much of alchemy is highly misunderstood and has been kept secret in a variety of magical and fraternal organizations. The list of alchemists is known to originate with Thoth, who is widely credited for being the author of science, religion, mathematics, geometry, philosophy, medicine, and magic. Thoth is said to bring to civilization the calculations for the establishment of the heavens, stars, earth, and everything in them. In other words, matter. Compare this to how his feminine counterpart, Mot, was the force which maintained the universe, otherwise, spirit. The unification of matter and spirit became a centerpiece in alchemical thought. As the teaching spread, Thoth became known in other cultures as the Greek god Hermes. The two formally became the same as Hermes Trismegistus, of which he is currently known. This was the birth of the Hermetic tradition, and remains the same in many aspects today. One of the foundational manuscripts of alchemy is known as the Emerald Tablet, which is said to contain the secrets of the art. Many translations are available. Perhaps one of the most well-known was done by Isaac Newton. "'Tis true without lying, certain and most true, That which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below, to do the miracles of one only thing. And as all things have been and arose from one by the meditation of one, so all things have their birth from this one thing by adaptation. The sun is its father, the moon its mother. The wind hath carried in its belly, the earth its nurse. The father of all perfection in the whole world is here. Its force or power is entire if it be converted into earth. Separate thou the earth from the fire, the subtle from the gross, sweetly with great industry. It ascends from the earth to the heaven, and again it descends to the earth, and receives the fourth things superior and inferior. By this means you shall have the glory of the whole world, and thereby all obscurity shall fly from you. Its force is above all force, for it vanquishes every subtle thing, and penetrates every solid thing. So was the world created. From this are and do come admirable adaptations, whereof the means or process is here in this. Hence I am called Hermes Trismegistus, having the three parts of the philosophy of the whole world. That which I have said of the operation of the sun is accomplished and ended.
If we take those concepts of alchemy that we see and can prove physically, yes, you can take certain vibrational elements, we call them matter, but we know at the subatomic level they had nothing more than vibration. And if we're able to mix these vibrating at this frequency and these vibrating at this frequency, and we mix them together, they create a totally different vibration. So we created something new from two things that were not that something new. This same process of alchemy happens within us. Through our thoughts, we are alchemists. We create different circumstances through our thoughts. Let me give you an example of alchemy within our thoughts that physically affect us without us knowing. If you're sleeping and you're having a dream that you are running, it's only a dream. This is not happening in what we call reality. Yet in this dream, the vibration that you're creating is the reality, because that vibration now influences your physical vibration, and you begin to physically sweat. All of a sudden you wake up from that dream, and all of a sudden your body is soaking wet. Your body reacted to the unseen elements that you, through the dream and thought process, created in the unseen world, what we call the non-physical sleep state. Yet in the physical manifestation of our bodies, it reacted as if those things were really happening. I believe they were really happening. Why else would the physical body react that way? The alchemy of thought creates truth into the physical world. That's why there's so many books sold, Think and Grow Rich. Thinking is an alchemical process that can materialize and manifest something into the appearance of this physical, real reality world. Hello, I'm back. Didn't take long for me to interject again. This next video I think is a perfect time. It's also from the fundamental teachings of ancient alchemy. This was the second video. I guess it was a two-part series. And in this clip, it talks a little bit about the alchemy of thought and the thought process, since I think that's where I'm talking about thought and the alchemy of thought in the regular video. So this is about the alchemy of thought. It's a short clip. See you soon.
One of the fundamental aspects of where your journey begins is with observation, which is your complete attention on your thoughts, on your feelings, and on your actions. Begin just by placing your total attention on what you are thinking right now, on what you are feeling right now, or what you are doing right now. Start with one at a time, and don't place too much emphasis on accomplishing all three at once, as they are also helping you determine which one of the three you are most receptive to. What is most important is the length of time you are able to keep your attention on a thought or feeling, even to the point when you are observing the transition from one thought to another. These are key moments, as they are frequently a time when attention is broken. Learn to notice signs that the attention is falling away, and bring your conscious mind back to observing that thought or feeling. Now is the time to be honest with yourself, or there will be little growth. The purpose of observation is increased self-awareness. While its benefits are obvious, you are about to be aware of all aspects, and that frequently means things that you do not like about a thought, feeling, or action. Try to notice if it's originating from the self or the ego. Is it a need or is it a want? Now that your full attention is placed on it, as difficult as it may sound, accept it, embrace it, and view it from an outward perspective. This is what separates everyday life with alchemy, which you are aware and you plan to take action upon it. An alchemist should always welcome these energies, find an alternative energy to give it new form, and transmute it through an opposing principle. This is where the recognition and utilization of archetypes can be beneficial, as you will soon be met with resistance to changes you know are beneficial to the self. This resistance occurs from the ego.
So as far as spiritual alchemy, I don't want to go into it too far because I'm still myself in the process of receiving and getting confirmation and experimenting. So as always, I am sharing this with you because for some reason, and even with that last video, there's always someone that reaches out to me with something so beautiful. And that's the purpose of this video, because somebody reached out to me talking about spiritual alchemy. Hello. I wanted to interject here because not only did somebody reach out to me to get me thinking about alchemy, but after I recorded the clips of me in front of the whiteboard, I got an email from a gentleman named Anton, and he suggested that I read a book written anonymously by, they call themselves the Three Initiates, and it's called the Kabbalion. It's in the public domain, so I was able to search on Google. I searched the Kabbalion PDF and was able to download it. I'm still in the process of reading it. I'm up to chapter 6, and I have my little highlighting all over, and it really hit home with me. I didn't realize that the visions that I've been receiving actually have a home, actually have others that had these types of concepts and theories as well. And it makes sense, because if I'm thinking it, there's only one reason why I would be thinking it, because it's already, that vibration is already there. So if anybody is at all interested, the Kabbalion by the Three Initiates, you can either download the PDF, I think they even still have it in publication. But I want to thank you, Anton, for suggesting that when you sent me the email. And those scriptures you sent me were beautiful. I'm glad that you see them the way you do. And with that, let's get back to the video. I'll see you soon. To go on to the next thing, I mean, I'll continue to touch base with spiritual alchemy. I don't want to go too deep with it, but there's a gentleman out there called John Hutchinson, and he created the Hutchinson effect, or what he was experimenting with in his labs became known as the Hutchinson effect. I have a few videos to show you this. And what it basically is exactly what Tesla was experimenting with, and that is the alchemy of vibration and pulsation and focused electromagnetism. And what happened with John was he started the same type of experiments that Tesla did, forcing and pinpointing electromagnetism into a ray, and then combining the different pulsations, vibrations, and amplitudes of them. And he was able to levitate things. He was able to take metal and bend it in a way where it doesn't seem like it should bend that way. And there's actually a couple videos that show that this technology possibly may have had a hand in the events of 9/11, when they showed this big metal beam bent in kind of the same way, where normally if metal is bent, it would buckle on the inside. But as John went through his experiments, the way that it bends because of the electromagnetic rays, it doesn't buckle on the inside. And they found this on steel beams from the World Trade Centers. So it's just one of those, for all the conspiracy theorists out there. Okay, I want to set up this next video, which is an interview talking about John Hutchinson and the Hutchinson effect. We know this technology is out there, and I know there's conspiracy theorists who think that it could definitely have been used in the 9/11 attacks. And when you look at other videos from the John Hutchinson's effect, you actually see beams, metal that bends without creasing, and then they show some of the metal beams on 9/11, how they look just like that. I'm not big on conspiracy theories, but it does make you go, So this is a clip just explaining a little bit about John Hutchinson and the Hutchinson effect. I will see you soon.
Canadian scientist John Hutchinson is the discoverer of what is now known as the Hutchinson effect. I met with him in the year 2001 to learn about his work and to show him the galaxy clock and gravity beyond light speed theory. His work demonstrated the principle perfectly. He was the first scientist to change the frequency of mass from a low 7 to 8 Hertz wave state to a higher frequency. He did this in an amazing experiment where he bombarded a 75-pound cannonball with high-frequency waves produced by Tesla coils, radio waves, and Van de Graaff waves. As the 75-pound ball absorbed the high-frequency magnetic waves, its mass became lighter, and so light that it actually started to levitate. If we can change the frequency of mass into a high-frequency wave state, it can eventually turn into a form so light that the energy required for propulsion for a spacecraft would reduce or become more efficient and allow us to experience less and less inertia, therefore experience less g-force in spaceflight. If mass could become so light that it became as light as a photon, mass or spacecraft could attain the speed of light with very little energy in the form of actual propulsion. If mass or spacecraft could transform into such a high-frequency wave state that it went far beyond the frequency of waves in the visible light spectrum, mass or spacecraft could become invisible. Higher yet, mass or spacecraft could break the speed of light.
But John Hutchinson also found that combining certain stone elements, crystals and different type of elements, he was able to make these little small batteries that last 10,000 years. And this is alchemy of, physical alchemy of elements that are within our reach, free. So he was finding a way to create these batteries that would last a long time, and it was basically free energy. Of course, when he approached the United States government, they didn't want anything to do with it. They called him kooky, cuckoo, cuckoo, cocoa, kooky. They called him cuckoo. And he ended up going to China or Japan and started creating this battery there. And of course, while he was there, the US government raided his laboratory, took all of his experiments, kind of like what they did with Tesla. And you could search John Hutchinson or the Hutchinson effect and see where that brings you. Okay, I want to set up this next video, which is talking about the Schumann resonance. And the name of the video, I believe, is The Effects on the Human Body. I'm setting this up because it talks about music, talks about, the full video talks about the 432 tuning compared to the 440 tuning. And I got my crystal bowls over here. When I do my chakra meditations, I talk about this constantly. So I just want to show a little clip here of this gentleman talking. And any musicians out there, search human resonance effects on the human body in YouTube, and you should get this exact clip. This is only part of it, with the talking head here. There's a lot of other stuff that goes into the science behind the 432 tuning and Mother Earth human resonance. So this clip is set up, ready to go. See you soon.
There are a lot of amazing things about quantum physics, and here's my understanding of one of the basic concepts, and that is that the entire human perception of reality is basically an illusion, that everything we see around us and perceive as solid matter is instead almost completely empty space, and interspersed in this empty space is a matrix of vibrating energy fields, tiny fields of potentiality. And these vibrating fields aren't solid either. They pop in and out of existence, creating the vibration. And the entire universe is made of an almost infinite array of these vibrational fields. In fact, instead of viewing the universe as clumps of solid matter, a much better analogy is to consider that the universe is music. That's what music is. It's a harmonious resonance, and that's what creates the universe as well. These resonating fields in a matrix within matter. 2,500 years ago, Pythagoras was not only enlightened enough to know that the Earth was a sphere, even though our limited human perception at the time would have led us to believe that the Earth was flat. Pythagoras also knew that the universe was made of resonating energy. He called the universe the music of the spheres. And not only is the universe music, but our body is music as well. All matter is made of these harmoniously resonating energy fields. And our consciousness is enmeshed in the vibrational fields of our body, in the music of our body. I'm not just bringing this up as an interesting analogy, though, because if you can perceive that everything is a vast symphony of vibration, then you can consider that each molecule is like a musical instrument. Each molecule has a specific range of vibration depending on the number of protons, neutrons, and electron states within that molecule, just like each musical instrument has a specific range of octaves it's capable of producing. And these molecules are arranged in our bodies in an unimaginably complex orchestra to form the music which is us. We've been evolving this way for hundreds of millions of years, in part because we have consciousness. In a way, you could say that our consciousness has aided in the construction of the most complex symphony known. But just like the instruments in a regular orchestra, each molecule in our bodies is also tuned, and we're tuned by the larger fields of vibration that surround us. Now, I know that last statement's hard for a lot of people to accept, especially if you were questioning the earlier analogies to begin with. So let me give you some examples of natural frequencies that we're attuned to. One is the circadian rhythm, the 24-hour cycle of the sun. Now, we don't tend to view this as a frequency because in our limited human perception, 24 hours is a long time, but it is a natural frequency and we are clearly attuned to it. And if you take someone out of this natural frequency and put them under constant artificial light or constant darkness, they'll actually tend to lose their tuning and migrate onto something like a 30-hour wake and sleep cycle. Now, I'm not saying that the circadian rhythm directly tunes every molecule in your body, but I believe the majority of them are indirectly attuned by it. For example, when you sleep and wake, it causes a physiological change in almost every system in your body, and so almost every molecule in your body is indirectly attuned by the circadian rhythm through other systems. In the same way that a tuning fork could be used to tune one instrument in an orchestra, and then that one tuned instrument can be used to tune the rest of the orchestra. And there are many other examples of natural frequencies that our bodies and our consciousness are attuned to. There's the frequency of the seasons, which causes many animals to hibernate or migrate. There's the lunar cycle, which many organisms are attuned to. Then there are much more subtle natural frequencies, which have only recently been discovered and which may impact our state of consciousness. One of these is the Schumann resonance. The Schumann resonance is the natural electromagnetic frequency of the Earth's atmosphere, and the strongest note is around 8 Hertz. Animals' brain waves are on a very similar frequency to the Schumann resonance, and one theory for this is that since animals evolved surrounded by this natural electromagnetic frequency, we incorporated it into our brain waves, much the same way that animal blood plasma is similar in chemical composition to seawater, in theory because animals evolved in seawater. And if we are attuned to the Schumann resonance, it would have a profound impact on our state of consciousness. It's impossible for someone to be in an agitated and highly focused state when they're in a theta brainwave state. It's impossible for someone to be calm and meditative when they're in a beta brainwave state. So this is one more example of a natural frequency which we may be attuned to and which could potentially have a profound impact on our state of consciousness. Another strong natural frequency which surrounds us but was only relatively recently discovered is the ocean of negative ions in the air we breathe. We've actually evolved to sense this difference in ionic state in the air. It's what we sense as fresh versus stagnant air. Negative ions are created by things like falling water droplets and wind friction, so that air after a thunderstorm or near the surf feels very fresh, whereas air in an enclosed, stuffy room feels very stagnant. And likely we evolved to sense this difference in ionic state of the air because it has some impact on our health, but I believe that our consciousness is also attuned to this frequency, and I'll go into that in a minute. Another strong natural resonance which surrounds us and we never consider is sunlight itself. It has a frequency. And you'll notice when people are sad or depressed, what do? They enclose themselves in a small stuffy room and they draw the curtains. They've put themselves into a low light, low ion environment because I believe their consciousness is actually attuned to those frequencies. Just like they put on sad music because their consciousness is attuned to that particular frequency of music. And when people are happy, what do? They go out in the bright sunshine, near the surf, near a waterfall, somewhere that's a high ion, high light environment. Again, because their consciousness is attuned to those frequencies, just like their consciousness is attuned to the happy music they listen to when they're in a good mood. And there's no way to prove this connection, but hopefully it's a useful hypothesis for you to consider. Now, I could have just made a video saying go outside in nature in the fresh air and sunshine and you'll feel different, you'll feel better, and everyone intuitively recognizes that that's true. But I wanted to point out just how fundamentally we are attuned to these natural frequencies and how they affect our state of consciousness, and how we can lose our tuning, just like a musical instrument loses its tuning if we're taken out of these natural frequencies for long enough. Because once you understand the concept that your consciousness is attuned to these natural frequencies, you can become more aware of it, just like a musician who picks up an instrument and knows whether it's in tune or not. If someone's not a musician, they could pick up an instrument and have no idea whether it's in tune. But once you're more aware of this concept, you can recognize when you lose your natural tuning and the effect that that has on your state of consciousness. Now, the types of natural resonance I talked about today are, of course, only the ones that have been discovered by science so far, some relatively recently. But I think it's likely that there are other types of natural resonance which haven't been discovered by science yet. In my opinion, a lot of ancient wisdom revolved around understanding these vibrations in the universe and how they affect our state of consciousness. But just as a general baseline, you will notice that when you're out in nature in a more natural energy environment, the one that we evolved in for hundreds of millions of years, you have a different state of consciousness than when you're indoors in an artificial environment. And by understanding that fundamental baseline, you can recognize when you're out of tune.
For everyone out there who's into chakra meditation, and it says, to your roots chakra is a C, and if you're on a piano tuned to 440 and you're playing a C, try an instrument that you're able to manipulate the tuning. Like the crystal bowls that I have are tuned to 432 specifically, and when you feel that vibration, then when you hum your voice to match that frequency, when you visualize the color of, let's say, the root chakra, red, you're visualizing that vibrational frequency. Now threefold. You are now humming that frequency, feeling that frequency, and internally seeing that color, which is that frequency. And just feel what that does to your body and see how that moves your body. Research everything I say. I am only inspiring you to go within, and if some of my inspirations need external confirmation for you, get on YouTube, get on these forums and ask questions, join spiritual groups, and do not be afraid of anything that they say. Do not care one bit if they look at you as a new age yada yada and that you're going to go to hell. Wipe all of that away. None of that is a vibration reality. It's all illusion, and they will try to attack you, as I've been attacked plenty of times, and it kind of makes you chuckle, and it kind of makes you wonder how, I don't want to say bad, but how off a person must be and feel about themselves that they have to go and invade somebody else's belief system just because it's not the same as that person, who obviously is not comfortable. I don't care what they say, they're not comfortable with their own belief system, which is why the more they come at you and attack yours, the more you should be able to see as an enlightened spiritual being that whatever this person is trying to sell me, it has nothing to do with compassion and love. Because if this person was able to see pure compassion coming from me, he would not say, or she would not say, oh, you must believe this way, you must believe that way, or else you're going to go to hell, because that blinded person can't even see the beauty coming from you. What is it that they're trying to sell you? And we know that all good comes from the Father. So if they're able to see compassion from you, but don't like how that compassion and what inspired that compassion to come from you, then the blindness is all theirs. Do not care. If you are a compassionate person, do not worry one bit about what any religion or any person or any thing has to say about your movements inside. If you have pure compassion oozing from you, you are the truth. They still only seek it, which is why they want to upset your truth, because they themselves still haven't found it. And if you can't see the beauty in a compassionate Buddhist, a compassionate Muslim, a compassionate Christian, a compassionate atheist, a compassionate ant, if you can't see the beauty of the Father operating through them, then don't push your beliefs onto me or onto anybody else. Hello, me again. I want to set up this next clip. It's a video I found on YouTube called Resonant Beings, and this is the ending of it. It was a little section at the end that was put together nicely. There's a lot of excellent information in here. I just grabbed a little piece from the ending. You could go on YouTube and search Resonant Beings, and you'll be able to see the full video. But right now, this is all set up. Let's check it out. Enjoy, and I'm sure you'll see me again. See you soon.
We are a brilliant, yet complex organism. The way that our body functions isn't by chance, nor is it something which has happened overnight. Like every other creature on this planet, we have adapted into the environment we exist in. An environment which, since the beginning of time, has had a delicate balance of fields and resonances. These phenomena don't just surround us, they make us what we are. The cells of our body communicate with each other using light frequencies. Our DNA uses electromagnetic frequencies to reproduce itself. At the core of everything are protons and electrons, positive and negative, making all life magnetic. We are, as all life is, equipped with cryptochrome cells, which allows us to sense those fields in ways we barely understand. We are beings of frequency, electricity, light, and magnetism. And to become this way, has taken millions of years, a process which started with the very first cell. Although we have embraced the wireless technology and accepted it into our everyday lives, at a cellular level, our bodies haven't. The frequencies that now surround us are as alien to ourselves as they would be to our eyes, if only we could see them.
Okay, I want to set up this last video here. It's a video I found about a gentleman from China, I believe, who was able through meditation to take his negative and positive energies within his body from the root chakra to the solar plexus, combine them at the sacral, and form an electrical impulse that he was able to focus through different parts of his body and into his patients. He's a healer. This meditating that he's talking about, I believe, can be achieved by anybody and can be accomplished by anybody. And if you think for a moment that the body is the temple of God and you must be 100% in tune before you start to receive any wisdom or anything from the Spirit, wipe that away from you. If you have compassion, love, and the will and willingness to achieve these things of the Spirit, all it takes is for the conditioning of the mind to happen first, and the body will follow. Why do I say this? Because with my eye, I did spy in the interview that gentleman smoking a cigarette. And my grandfather died from emphysema from smoking cigarettes. So of course, the first thing I'm thinking of is, how is he able to achieve this? You know, and he's doing this to his lungs. The Spirit will not look at your physical body and say you're not good enough. If the mind is prepared, then the illusion of the body will follow suit. If the mind is prepared to become the vehicle of the Spirit, then the body will follow suit. And if there's anything that you believe is keeping your body from taking those steps to gaining this wisdom from the Spirit, wipe that from your rule book. Because with change, first let it come internal. Then the materialization and externalization of it will follow. Just as through meditation, this gentleman was able to externalize a natural phenomenon that happens within all human beings, the transference of electrical impulses. As I speak, I'm having millions of them go within my mind right now and making my hands move right now. So with that, I want to show you this last video. I love you, and then you'll see the rest of the video to the end, and I will see you next time. I love you. Thank you for watching, as always.
Lawrence had heard of a man who might be able to help and dragged me to him despite my reservations.
Is it in? Yes. Good Lord. You just relax and enjoy, Lawrence.
He uses acupuncture needles in the traditional points, but with a twist. Through them, he directs a form of electricity, as he calls it. But he doesn't draw the electricity from a wall socket. He claims to generate it within his own body. It was nothing like any acupuncture I'd ever had. I was getting really powerful electric shocks and couldn't control my movements at all.
Okay.
He says that what he does is no more supernatural than an electric eel, which also knows how to harness its yin and yang energies.
Yin yang, positive and negative, you know. And my positive from here and my negative from here. And we meet together, this can get like electricity.
And is this because you're special? You have a special sort of body?
Meditation every day.
It's meditation that does it?
Meditation every day. Like a yoga. But I study about 18 years
18 years.
18 years from my child before.
Can you project this energy through your hands only, or through other things as well?
Only my hand.
Only your hands.
Like you can touch me, like this. It's nothing, okay? It's my burn. Just like this.
Our sound recordist, Simi, was skeptical at first. Later, he told us that anybody could learn this. God had given us all the yin-yang polarity, but it takes discipline and meditation to awaken and control it. And you must be very aware of your emotions. This energy can be dangerous. It can kill as well as heal. Then he asked for our newspaper. Whatever he had done to our newspaper, it's how he'd healed my eyes that made me wonder. What do these people living in the shadows of the volcanoes still know that we of the West have forgotten?
So as always, I want to thank you. I want to thank you as always for watching. I want to thank you as always for commenting, sending me emails. Again, Spiritual Alchemy is a process that I'm going through right now. If you have anything that you can add, if you have any reading literature or any things on Spiritual Alchemy that you can direct my way, I would love it, and I would obviously check it out. As always, I love you. Elohim be with you. Elohim is you. Be the alchemist that you are. Hello, before you go, if anybody is interested in doing physical body cleanses or into homeopathic medications or vitamins, supplements, etc., there is a gentleman who I've been in contact with. I talked to him a lot on the telephone. From Texas. His name is Homer. He's got a website with his services. The website is tinysessions.org. He's very spiritual, very well educated when it comes to the area of different cleanses, different vitamins, the information that I received from him and the talks that we have. I mean, we're on the phone for an hour, sometimes 2 hours. I'm sure he's watching this video right now. Hi, Homer. This gentleman can change your life if this is an area you want your life to change in. So anybody who is interested in learning more about different types of vitamins and just your physical body, as well as spiritual. He also offers spiritual consultations. I just want to introduce you guys to him. His name is Homer, and he is from Texas, and tinysessions.org. Go check it out. I love you. I love you all so very much. I love you, Homer. Hope everything is well with you, as well as everybody else. I love you, thank you, and I'll see you next time.
And there's a discussion about should we go back to that because
yeah, a lot of people are starting